What if I told you that a former All-Star is flirting with a return to a team that once let him go? And more. This decision could have a direct impact on the future of the Boston Celtics. Yes, D'Angelo Russell, currently with the Lakers, wants to return to the Brooklyn Nets. But does he even have a choice? The player himself admitted that this decision might not be in his hands. What does this mean for the NBA? And more importantly, could this affect the Celtics' dominance in the East?
Let's break it all down now.
D'Angelo Russell was one of the Brooklyn Nets' key players before being traded to the Warriors in 2019. Now, after another stint with the Lakers, he is openly expressing his desire to return to the Nets. But here's a crucial detail. Russell himself admitted that the decision is out of his control. Do the Nets actually want him back? Or is this just a desperate move to avoid free agency? Averaging 13.3 points while shooting below 40% from the field, Russell hasn't exactly been a game changer. So why would the Nets bet on him again? Would he accept a secondary role on a team that is still far from competing at the top of the East? The Boston Celtics are dominating the Eastern Conference, but any moves by their rivals could shift the landscape. Would Russell's arrival in Brooklyn make life easier or harder for the Celtics? The reality is that the Nets are not a threat at the moment, but with a more experienced point guard and a young supporting cast, they could become an annoying matchup. Moreover, if Brooklyn clears cap space for Russell, could they also target another high-profile player? And what if this is just the beginning of a more aggressive rebuild aiming at next season? Here's the biggest question. Can D'Angelo Russell still be a relevant name in the NBA? At 28, he is far from the level he showed at his peak with the Nets when he was an All-Star, but can he still contribute to a competitive team if he does hit free agency? Other franchises might come calling. Teams like the Miami Heat, or even the 76ers could be interested. And what if, instead of returning to Brooklyn, Russell ends up on a direct rival of the Celtics? What if I told you that a Boston Celtics player gave up a real shot at becoming a back-to-back NBA champion, only to end up without a team for months? Oshae Brissett bet on himself, turned down a guaranteed contract, and went through one of the most challenging stretches of his career. But now what? He's finally back in the NBA, but in a way no one expected. Was this a genius move, or the biggest mistake of his life? Oshae Brissett was part of the Celtics' historic run to their 18th championship, but even with the chance to repeat that success, he chose not to exercise his $2.5 million player option. The decision caught many by surprise. He knew his playing time in Boston would be limited, with the team's rotation locked in behind Tatum, Brown, and company. But leaving with no guarantees, a huge risk. He wanted a bigger role elsewhere, but that gamble nearly cost him his NBA career. Why did no team want Brissett for so long? Brissett is a versatile player, a solid defender, and brings energy off the bench. Yet he spent months without a concrete NBA offer. While waiting, he played in the G League for the Long Island Nets, trying to stay relevant. His averages: 12.1 points, 5.5 rebounds, but only 26.5% from three. That explains a lot. In today's NBA, a role player without a consistent shot loses value fast. He even admitted, "I watched games and thought, I'm better than that guy." But if that were true, why didn't anyone sign him? Was Philadelphia the best option? After 8 months of uncertainty, Brissett finally landed a 10-day contract with the Philadelphia 76ers. But hold on, is this a good spot for him? The team is in chaos. Joel Embiid and Paul George have been disappointing. Tyrese Maxey is overwhelmed, and the franchise is going through a lost season. For Brissett, this could be a chance to stand out with no pressure or a dead end. In his debut, he put up 14 points and was one of the best performers off the bench. If he keeps this up, he could earn a bigger deal. But are the Sixers the right team for his resurgence? Do Tatum and Brown still believe in him, even after leaving? Boston Brissett never lost touch with his former teammates. When the Celtics visited the White House, he showed up to reunite with the squad, even without an NBA contract. And when news of his new team broke, Jayson Tatum was one of the first to comment, "Briss is my brother. He deserves to be in the league." But let's be real. Is this just friendship, or does Tatum truly believe Brissett can be relevant in the NBA again? The Celtics won't face him this season, so all they can do is watch from afar. What's next for Brissett? Will he secure a guaranteed contract and revive his career? Or will he be just another player who bet on himself and lost everything? What would you have done in his place? Jaylen Brown's days in Boston might be numbered, but why would such a dominant team consider moving on from one of its key players? And worse, this decision might not even be in the hands of the franchise. Today, we're diving into the reasons behind this potential NBA earthquake and how a single off-court detail could change everything. Since they first teamed up, Jayson, Tatum, and Jaylen Brown have sparked debate. Critics claimed they would never win together, but they did. Yet even after a championship, the rumors never stopped. Now, a new factor has entered the equation: the sale of the franchise. With new ownership coming in, and the NBA's latest collective bargaining agreement tightening financial flexibility, the Celtics may be on the verge of making a franchise-altering decision. So here's the burning question: will money speak louder than basketball? If there's someone with credibility when it comes to NBA insider talk, it's Bill Simmons. But this time, the bombshell didn't come from him. It came from his own father. In a recent episode of Simmons' podcast, his father suggested that new ownership might have very different plans for the team. He even made a controversial comparison: the Luka Doncic situation in Dallas. The Mavericks reportedly considered trading their franchise player after an ownership change. Could the same happen with Brown? And if it does, would it be a fatal mistake for the Celtics? The issue might not just be ownership vision, it could be financial reality. The new CBA, Collective Bargaining Agreement, imposes strict penalties on teams that overspend. And guess what? The Boston Celtics are one of the highest spending teams in the league. Keeping Tatum, Brown, Holiday, and Porzingis together is incredibly expensive. Will the new ownership be willing to foot the bill, or will they look for a cheaper way to stay competitive? Now let's say a trade happens. Who could replace Jaylen Brown? Is there even a player out there who could match his impact? And more importantly, would this decision make the Celtics better or worse? Brown is one of the best two-way players in the league, and losing him would completely alter the team's identity. Is that a risk worth taking? Jaylen Brown's fate now rests in the hands of the Celtics' new owners. What matters more, keeping an expensive but elite roster intact, or cutting costs and rolling the dice on a new era? This decision could define the franchise's future for years to come. So, what would you do? Keep Brown at all costs or trade him before it's too late? Drop your thoughts in the comments.